After my husband, Jimmy Watts, died, I could see his spirit floating in the air. While sorting through his belongings, I heard him say, "Luckily, she didn't find the property certificate for the house I gave to Ashley." My hand, clutching the belongings, paused. I didn't say a word, but immediately contacted a lawyer. Using the proof of marital property, I reclaimed the house he had secretly gifted me. On the day the house was reclaimed, his spirit paced anxiously in the living room. But the next second, I heard him sigh with relief. Luckily, I placed Ashley and my child in her care. Knowing her personality, she'll definitely treat the child well. This is a kind of guarantee for them. I remained silent, but that same day I contacted an orphanage and sent the adopted son away. They didn't know how hard-earned my money was. I would never let this illegitimate child take advantage of me in the slightest. I had just rushed outside the emergency room when I was forcefully pulled back. It was Jimmy's aunt. Her eyes were bloodshot as she roared, "Chrystal, you jinx. If you hadn't been so vain, constantly pressuring Jimmy to buy you this and that, would he have gotten into an accident on his way to pick out your anniversary gift?" My mother-in-law also pounced on me, grabbing my arm and twisting it hard. Jimmy was such an honest and hardworking man. He never had a moment's peace after marrying you. He worked himself to the bone for this family, and you were still ungrateful, insisting on some lousy anniversary gift that cost him his life. My in-laws immediately surrounded me, each one adding their own accusations, placing all the blame on me. I opened my mouth, wanting to explain that I had only casually mentioned that our anniversary was coming up soon, and I had never intended to pressure Jimmy to buy anything. But now, the words were stuck in my throat, and I couldn't utter a single one. Marci Watts, my son's reaction was the most suffocating. He yanked my sleeve and shook me hard. "Mommy, you're so bad. Daddy died because you wanted a present. Because of you, I don't have a daddy anymore." Children speak the truth most bluntly, and it hurts the most. Guilt grew wildly like vines, suffocating me. Yes, if I hadn't brought up the anniversary, Jimmy wouldn't have gone out at that time, and he wouldn't have had the car accident. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably, blurring my vision. Just then, I vaguely glimpsed Jimmy's soul floating in the air above the emergency room. I thought it was a hallucination caused by excessive grief, but when his voice rang out, I knew it was all real. Luckily, Chrystal doesn't know I was in a car accident on my way to buy a cake for Ashley. Ashley is timid. If she knew I died because of her, how much guilt would she feel? His voice was light, yet it struck me like a thunderbolt, freezing my blood instantly. I abruptly stopped my tears, my gaze fixed intently on Jimmy's soul. Of course I knew Ashley Ross, the girl he mentioned. She was Jimmy's junior from junior high school and had joined his company just 2 years ago after graduation. Jimmy often talked about her, saying she was a simple, sensible girl who worked very hard despite coming from a poor family. He said he was just helping her as a friend and told me not to overthink it. He kept his word and never did anything inappropriate with Ashley. But I never imagined he would be so devoted to another woman behind my back. If Ashley hadn't said she wanted to eat the mango mousse from that place in the west of the city, I wouldn't have rushed to take the shortcut and run the red light. Jimmy's soul drifted in midair, his voice full of regret, but he didn't mention me at all. Fortunately, my parents helped me hide it, saying I only lost money because I bought Chrystal an anniversary gift. Otherwise, with her personality, she would have caused trouble for Ashley and made her suffer. I left in a hurry and didn't leave Ashley anything. Luckily, I gave her an apartment when she first started working, so at least she won't be left homeless in this big city after I'm gone. Hearing Jimmy's words, I chuckled. I wanted to see how he would protect his little girl even after he was dead. The day after the funeral, I contacted a lawyer directly and gave him the address of the apartment Jimmy mentioned, as well as Ashley's identification information. Also, prepare another statement saying that Ashley took advantage of Jimmy's sympathy, falsely claiming financial hardship and homelessness to swindle this property. Jimmy was kind-hearted and made the decision without consulting me. Now that he's gone, as his legal spouse, I have the right to reclaim our marital property. The lawyer was somewhat surprised, but still prepared all the materials as I requested. 3 days later, I arrived at Ashley's doorstep with my lawyer and a group of staff. The moment the door opened, I froze. Ashley was wearing a beige loungewear set, the style and details of which were exactly the same as the gift Jimmy had brought back for me from his business trip. Even the necklace Ashley was wearing was the same as mine. It turned out he had already divided his love in two, giving one part to me and the other to his junior from elementary school. When Ashley saw me, a flicker of panic crossed her face. She instinctively adjusted her collar and asked, "Chrystal, what brings you here?" I didn't speak, letting the lawyer hand over the documents. "Ms. Ashley, according to the law, this property is the joint property of Ms. Chrystal and Mr. Jimmy. Mr. Jimmy's unilateral gift is invalid. Ms. Chrystal now requests the return of the house. Please cooperate in vacating the premises." Ashley's face instantly turned pale. She turned to look at me, saying, "Chrystal, this was a gift from Jimmy. You can't make me move out." Hearing her words, I sneered. "Ms. Ashley, I'd like to ask, what exactly is your relationship with my husband, Jimmy?" Ashley stiffened, her eyes darting away, avoiding my gaze. "Chrystal, I'm just Jimmy's junior from school. We have no other relationship." "Junior? What kind of junior is worth him giving you a $3 million apartment in the city center?" Ashley looked so shocked. Behind me, the lawyer's lips trembled, and after a long pause, she managed to stammer out, Jimmy said it's not easy for me right after graduation, so he gave me a place to stay." Before she could finish, I saw Jimmy, floating in midair, frantically spinning around, muttering repeatedly, "Ashley, don't talk nonsense. Just say I'm letting you stay here out of friendship." He floated to Ashley's side, intending to pat her shoulder as a reminder, but his hand passed right through her. He could only stomp his feet in even more anxiety. "Say it. Don't let her find any fault with it. That house is your protection. It can't be taken back." I didn't look at him, but fixed my gaze firmly on Ashley. "My husband said your family was poor and had no stable home, but I found out your parents just built a villa in your hometown. Ms. Ashley, taking advantage of someone's kindness is disgraceful." My voice wasn't loud, but it carried clearly to the ears of the surrounding neighbors. Ashley's face flushed red and then paled, wanting to say something, but I didn't give her the chance. "Regarding your lying about your impoverished background and deceiving Jimmy about his property, we have prepared the relevant materials. If you cooperate with the move, we will not pursue your responsibility in this matter. But if you refuse, we will take legal action. At that time, you will not only have to return the property, but also bear the corresponding legal responsibility." Jimmy, suspended in midair, was frantic, trying to rush over to protect Ashley, but he repeatedly passed through our bodies, only able to roar at me, "Chrystal, stop. You can't do this to Ashley." Halfway through his roar, he suddenly stopped, his soul frozen in midair, then a faint, fortunate smile appeared on his face. "I almost forgot, Marci is still with you. That's my and Ashley's child. Everything in the Watts family will belong to Marci in the future." I stood there, rooted to the spot, unable to react for a long time. The child Jimmy and I adopted from the orphanage, the child I doted on for 5 years, the child I treated like my own, was actually Jimmy and Ashley's biological son? Countless images uncontrollably flooded my mind. When tutoring Marci, he cried over math problems. I patiently explained them 5 times, but he tore up his workbook, yelling, "I don't understand what you are saying." When Jimmy got home, he listened to the formula once, understood it, snuggled into his arms, and then looked at me, making a face. "Daddy's 100 times smarter than you." When I told Marci bedtime stories, he always woke up startled, saying, "Mommy, your voice is awful." But when Jimmy occasionally told him a story, even if it was something he wasn't interested in, he could fall asleep peacefully. I smiled self-deprecatingly. It turned out that all my attempts to please him, all my tolerance, were one-sided. The child I doted on for 5 years, it turned out, had his own biological mother. So no matter what I did, he always found something wrong with it. Nothing I did pleased him. "Ashley is smart enough to keep Marci hidden right under Chrystal's nose," Jimmy said smugly. Chrystal's too soft-hearted. She's raised Marci for 5 years. Of course she's attached. She'll never abandon him. When she gets older, the Watts family's house, car, and savings will all go to Marci. Then Marci can bring Ashley back, mother and son reunited, and I can finally rest in peace. He floated around, his tone becoming lighter. So, what if she takes the house back temporarily? These things come later. It's all still Marci's place. Chrystal is just an outsider. At most, she'll only benefit for a few more years. Ashley's face flushed red. Her previous weak and pitiful appearance vanished, replaced by anger in her eyes. Chrystal, do you have to be so ruthless? Jimmy has only been gone a short time, and you're already in a hurry to kick me out. It's just a house. Why are you being so petty? Aren't you afraid Marci will blame you? Last time I took Marci to buy candy, he said he liked me more. Do you, as his mother, deserve that treatment? Hearing her words, I didn't get angry but laughed instead. She reminded me that the most important thing at that time was to deal with Marci's matter. I glanced at her flushed face, ignoring her words, and turned to the lawyer, saying, "Follow the procedure. If you don't see the house in 3 days, file a lawsuit." Ashley was stunned, her momentum weakening slightly, but she still stubbornly shouted, "You dare! If Marci asks me, let's see what you say." I ignored her completely, went straight downstairs, and dialed the orphanage's number. "Hello, is this the Sun Orphanage? I'm Chrystal Nichols, Marci's adoptive mother. There's a new situation. These past 2 days, I've found Marci's biological mother. According to regulations, I can no longer continue to raise him. I'll bring the child over this afternoon to complete the formalities." Clutching the orphanage's adoption certificate, I bent down to sign Marci's name when my mother-in-law grabbed my arm tightly. "You think you can just send away a child you've raised for 5 years? Chrystal, what are you up to? Jimmy just left and you're already in such a hurry to get rid of him and remarry?" My father-in-law also scolded with a stern face. "Nonsense. Even though Marci isn't your biological son, he's still a part of the Watts family. If you dare touch him, you'll see what happens." Marci and his grandfather exchanged a glance, and Marci immediately grabbed the sofa armrest and wailed, "I won't leave. This is my home. Why should I leave? Mommy, I hate you. I better live with Grandpa and Grandma." He kicked his legs and hid behind his grandmother, crying so hard he could barely breathe. If I had seen Marci like this before, I would have been at a loss. I would have hugged Marci and explained over and over again. I would have knelt down and gently coaxed Marci. It's all my fault. But that time, seeing this child in front of me, I just felt so noisy and annoyed. I rubbed my temples, for the first time ignoring Marci's tear-reddened face and my in-laws, only glancing at everyone in the room. These procedures must be completed today. My mother-in-law released my arm and pounced on Marci like a mother hen protecting her chicks, hugging him tightly, clearly determined to defy me. I'll see who dares to touch my precious grandson today. My father-in-law frowned, probably afraid I was truly determined. Then, for the first time, he sternly criticized Marci. "Marci, did you do something to upset your mother? Kneel down before her and beg her not to send you away." Marci hesitated, then bit his lip and knelt down with a thud. "Mom, I was wrong. I shouldn't have made you angry. I'll never tear up your homework again. Never say your voice is unpleasant again. Please don't send me away, okay?" Recalling all the things I'd done to Marci before, I could bear even if he kowtowed 3 times, let alone just this kneel. I didn't bend down to help him. Instead, I took a half step back, avoiding his outstretched hand, my gaze sweeping over my in-laws' faces. This child must be sent away today. Jimmy, who was still in midair, couldn't contain himself any longer. He charged at me like a madman, his transparent fists pounding against me repeatedly. "Chrystal, you vicious woman. Marci has already knelt before you. What more do you want?" "Let me tell you, Marci is a member of the Watts family, and he will bear the Watts surname for life." Seeing that I was unmoved, he then lunged at Marci, His voice suddenly trembled with tears. He reached out to touch Marci's head, but his hand passed through nothingness. Marci, don't be afraid. Daddy's here. I won't let this vicious woman take you away. I interrupted my mother-in-law's sobs, ignoring Jimmy's frantic screams beside me, and finally uttered the words that had been weighing on my heart all day. Marci, get up. You don't need to cry. I've found your mother. Now you can go back to a good life.